I'm Mahdi Shaheeb Sher. My website is www.mahdishaheebsher.com. I think one of my interests in the world as Mahdi Shaheeb Sher is America and George Washington. I think with the Declaration of Independence from the British Empire, I think America did have some kind of war of independence with Great Britain and the British Empire. I think it was led by George Washington, who was a British aristocrat. He was a lord from Great Britain. I think that's why he wore that white wig when he undertook his military campaigns. I think because he was British by influence, it does have a significance in how America originated as a country. I think George Washington, as a British servant leading the War of Independence, says a lot about how America is founded with some of its principles. I think George Washington was quite important with some of those principles, and I think that it is kind of an important point to appreciate. With George Washington, I think with George Washington, the interesting thing about his military campaigns was that he failed most of his battles. I think 9 out of 10 battles that he conducted in America around New York and the northern area of America was kind of losing battles. I think that the battles that George Washington conducted were deliberately lost in the War of Independence, and I think that does have a significant mark on how America has developed with that. I think that George Washington was a bad general, and I think because America had to fight very hard for its independence with a bad general, it had to very much struggle for its notion as America as a country. So I think that George Washington is very important in American history. He's probably one of the most important fathers of American history, maybe the most important father of American history. And I think that could be considered in kind of looking at how America behaves in the world, in almost showing that it has a right to engage in violent behavior because it has to struggle for survival. I think that's the kind of thought that America has with its own nation and country, the United States of America. I think that it always has to pick up a flag. It always has to pick up its own flag. I think that's how Americans feel. And I think that if there is a view that America has to struggle for its survival, then it could explain the violence that it conducts in the world for its own right of existence. So I think that's a little bit disturbing, as having America in the world. It could be kind of quite reckless. But I think with George Washington, he's very significant. I think because he lost so many battles, America did have to call on France for military assistance and support. So I think that was the result of George Washington being involved in the War of Independence. The fact that he deliberately lost the battles, so France was involved in the American War of Independence. And it could have some claim of sovereignty over America because of that. I think it won its key battle. France won its key battle for America at West Point, somewhere close there, where ultimately decided the War of Independence on America's side. So I think that France is very much crucial to the war, to the independence of America, and this is primarily due to the behavior of George Washington. The conduct of George Washington, and I think that Europe does have some significance in America, and ultimately France did pay a price for this as well, because I think following the War of Independence, France was bankrupted with its military support for America, and that led to the French Revolution, and that had its own consequences in Europe. So I think that George Washington is very influential in the world. I think very important to how the world has developed. I have disfavorable opinions about George Washington, but I think he has to be appreciated as a very pivotal person in human history for how he developed a whole continent into a country that has ultimately influenced the world. So that's my view of George Washington. Thank you very much.